My name is Dan Lewis. I am principal consultant for mobile and digital at the Judge Group. I work in our full project delivery side. I've been developing applications professionally for 16 years or so. So I've lived in a lot of your shoes now. Unfortunately, I only get to develop about 5% of my work week. I won't let them take that 5%. I was talking to Fred about this earlier, and you just can't let them take it away from you. If you love developing, you love writing code, even if you move into an architecture or any other type of role like that, try to stay hands-on. Don't let them just make you a project manager. You don't have to. So lots of great code examples of great things going on here. This is a 15-minute talk, so we're not going to have time to have too much fun. So I want to instead get you to think about the big picture. All of you exist here. Do you all professionally use JavaScript as your primary language in your day job in here? Only half? So the rest of you just here just to have fun on a Friday? I mean, come on. Free lunch, I love it. Boss paid for it, free lunch. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm not taking lunch away. So big picture, what I see working with large enterprises, mid-sized organizations, US, EMEA, is JavaScript has been in the enterprise forever. I mean, ever since dynamic HTML, the 90s, prior to my time in development. And has that low barrier to entry. But there's still this perception right inside the enterprise with some folks that I'm hearing things, and I'm not going to say that, but sometimes means poor quality. And low barriers to entry does mean that individuals can just pick up and go, can start writing JavaScript and start writing interactions on their front-end pages, bring in 10 libraries that conflict and all types of crazy stuff and say, hey, look, it's cool, it bounces and it animates. But it means poor quality comes out. And testing's still an afterthought. Or more likely, it's not budgeted. So I have my ringers here. So Rob Smith and I were talking for a while on text the other night about there's a lot of tools, but they kind of repeat themselves, or they're not novel, or they're novel and they don't catch on for one reason or another. And we have these gaps where, or frankly, IT managers or business clients don't understand why, oh, it's just JavaScript. That stuff's been around forever. You can make it bounce, do this, just bring in Bootstrap, you'll have me a website and it's awesome. I just need a form here. That's all I need. So it's not budgeted. You're going to use it. You can do it. And the lack of being a typed language, obviously there's lots of gaps for that. I was in the apostrophe talk before, which was great in general. I know there are fundamental changes in the Lodash example with partials was excellent. Thank you. But it's time to take JavaScript seriously, and sometimes the lack of being a typed language, frankly, you'll have your C# developers, Java developers who say it's not a real language. Why are we looking at that in that way? But the trends in general in the world lend themselves to a JavaScript world. Pushes to cloud and SaaS applications, everything has a JavaScript API. People want rapid integrations, just bring that part into my existing intranet, web, application, insert here. And there's a decrease in large-scale custom applications, at least building from the ground up in the enterprise. I don't think SaaS spending has eclipsed in-house spending, but we are continuing that trend line, which I think calls for rapid development, which obviously JavaScript lends its hand to. Of course, we can make platform ubiquitous applications. I know that Microsoft tried to take JavaScript and kind of make JScript and make their own back-end stuff back in the 90s, but no, 10 plus years ago really did it right. Obviously in the front end, nothing new I have to tell anyone in this room about that. There is a total ubiquity on both the front end and the back end. And then obviously the community, events like this. I mean, there's events from anything from UI, UX, which are focused on JavaScript tracks, to pure JavaScript conferences, to I'll do talks to digital marketing leaders where they're still asking me questions, is JavaScript right for insert marketing campaign here? I know it sounds like an odd question maybe to some of you, but people care about that. What's my sustainability around my project and my spend and my upkeep? Is JavaScript the way to go over native apps, over this big SharePoint MVC thing, or hey, I want to use SharePoint, but I really want a JavaScript developer just to come in and do the cool stuff. It's really moving along. And then of course, the GitHub repository king, that's a blessing and a curse. Kind of some things look like the others, but just looking this morning, repositories with 5,000 plus stars, JavaScript wins out very easily. It's very, very big in the community. So as I have 10 more minutes left for this, you guys are all great during lunch. I would be talking to my friends and everything. Thank you. So does anyone know who this guy is? Lionel Messi? Hands? Okay, for those you don't know, he's like the Michael Jordan of soccer. He's the greatest soccer player in the world. He's one of the top 2 paid athletes in the world. He's a lot like JavaScript, and I mean this. Because you have young Messi there, then you have Messi with post-rough summer, dyed his hair blonde. He's growing it out right now. But really, it's the same. So JavaScript needs to become a team player to become ubiquitous. And then from the beginning, browsers, in 1995, I mean, Netscape Navigator, it's really been used for 20 years for front-end development in some capacity, different levels of ubiquity. Same thing, Leo Messi from the beginning, he had raw talent, dynamic ability, achieved greatness, won the Ballon d'Or, which is the greatest soccer player in the world, 3 times in a row when he was in his mid-20s. This is like JavaScript, rapid rise to use and prominence, rapid rise. Had so much raw talent, you overlook some of the bad things, the things that hadn't matured. Same thing happened to JavaScript. I think it really matures into a ubiquitous full stack language. We're doing some great mean project with a Fortune 10 company right now inside my firm with a global team. It's so fun. My developers love it. They're just like, wait, I'm writing the same stuff and using it everywhere. This makes so much sense. My testing strategy is very similar on the back end and the front end. This makes so much sense. The same tools, Mocha, Chai, bring them all in. We can have our own little Starbucks of testing suites, and we're happy. Sorry, I love the names. And so it's really maturing into, this is my Jesuit education, the Lingua Franca for enterprise development. Whether IT managers like it or not, whether CIOs understand that or not, it truly is becoming that. And it's the same also then with Leo Messi. So he's obviously happened in a much shorter time, but you get the point. He's become a complete player with other dimensions to his overall game. His assist ratio now is going through the roof. He creates for other people. He has added those other dimensions and really has evolved to become the standard for all future soccer players to be judged by. And he's a once-in-a-generation talent. But we still have challenges with both. Because with JavaScript reviewed at times, sometimes to have an incomplete high-level language to do in the enterprise. It's not typed, it's the testing, there's gaps here, there's so many frameworks, I don't know where to start. You have to stop bringing libraries in for this, that, and the third when you're a developer who doesn't understand what they're doing and the conflicts and performance hits and other stability hits that you're taking. And the same thing for Messi. He's going to be viewed at times as incomplete for never winning a major title for his country, Argentina. So I think in the same, JavaScript and Leo Messi are very similar in their trajectories and success in life. He rejoined the team. He rejoined the team, Rob. I was at that match when he missed it. My son and I almost cried. We were standing right behind when he sorry. So anyway, just as Leo Messi is synonymous for football greatness around the world, JavaScript can own the enterprise as the lingua franca for application development. I think right now we could all agree it's starting to organically, whether people say, oh, we're a .NET shop. Okay, how much of your code is actually written in JavaScript versus C# or some other .NET-based language? I'd challenge people to even look at those projects. But regardless of their early rises to prominence, and those pundits who always find a flaw, natural diamonds are never flawless. So I got done a lightning talk very, very, very fast. Like they told me I had a short time, and I guess I talk very fast. So inside people's enterprises, has anyone ever, can we make this interactive? You guys done eating? Yeah. Has anyone really had challenges getting people to take JavaScript seriously? Does that sound like a real thing inside your organization? You're a volunteer. Nah, I know. But we have that problem. And I think some of those problems are trying to be solved by a lot of people. And that part about the community that I showed earlier, with all those repos, is also the biggest detriment as well. Because there are so many tools that the maturity in some of those tools never evolved to the point to actually get the level of use case inside the organization to be taken seriously. I mean, again, going back to that Fortune 10 client I'm working right now on a mean stack, when it came to actually coming up with a cohesive test strategy for the full stack, there was 3 options given out. This is not new stuff here. Why do we have 3 options that are being presented? Why is not there? This is our standard. And in any other organization of that class, if we were bringing another type of technology that we were going to be building an application in, there would be, here's our standard methodology, here's our build process, here's our change management process. Instead, I see a lot of JavaScript projects, even inside of large organizations, get managed just like open source GitHub projects. And that's great for the community to create tools and functionality, but not necessarily for the organization all the time that wants to see this very standard library-based approach. But then on the other side, I've also seen, hey, here is our standards. Does anyone in this organization have an organizational JavaScript library they must bring into every project? Got one. It's a real thing, I promise. They exist. You guys work for agencies, you're in an awesome space because you can usually build cool stuff. But inside a lot of organizations, we were just given a full JavaScript template to a new rollout for a whole new platform, for a global rollout for a Fortune 50 company, life sciences. And we were told this is the JavaScript boilerplate that we are to use for this entire thing. We are to use it around the world. Every agency involved, every build partner will use this. I was talking to Rob and Fred about this earlier, talking about how I stay in development. I made the mistake of opening the zip file and actually looking at the JavaScript. And this was a collaborative, multinational effort, leave it at that, and so a lot of moving parts. But then when I look at this code, it's like, wait, you took that from this Stack Overflow article. You took that from this random comment under said other Stack Overflow article. Oh wait, I've seen that before as a boilerplate example inside of this library here. And there's some touch points to a JavaScript API, to the actual platform. Wait, you've implemented it, their V1 version in these 10 instances, and you've done it in their V1.2, their V1.3 in these places. I'm talking about, only writing it once. Why do you have 46 then references to set bad reference? And so I spent a weekend. My girlfriend was very upset with me. This was not build time or work time. This was my own personal thing to actually go and rewrite this simple 1,000-line library. I mean, they weren't reinventing the wheel here. It was touch points into a constructed API. But yet, when we have individuals who are writing enterprise-level code who don't understand the concept of a asynchronous callback, we have a problem. When there is a concept of, hey, here is my asynchronous callback for this particular function, and here's something that's wildly different done by someone else that probably should use the same just promise framework around it, use the same level. Like, you can't stash things in a global variable while you have a callback going on multiple operations. This is real enterprise code that exists in this world. I promise and kid you not. And it's very, very scary. And that's why I love coming here. The Apostrophe Talk is great, just to see where we can go with structured JavaScript. But it is the fundamental problem. Because the barriers to entry are so low, anyone right now could go and say, hey, I'm going to go on Code Academy and I'm going to teach myself Angular. And that's a great thing that we can all pick that up and take that on, whether we have a computer science background, or maybe we come from a business background, or heck, maybe we were a chemist or we were an English major, I don't know. That barrier to entry being so low provides such crap that's out there, and I have no other way to say it. And that's the problem in the enterprise, and that is the disillusion with using JavaScript as an enterprise framework language for your entire IT department, for your entire actual internal app development, because people see all the bad stuff that's out there. Everyone has said, I have Judge offers a recruiting side, say hi to my guys over there. You probably met earlier today. They hear a lot when they go to find JavaScript developers, I know jQuery. That's not the answer to the question. And I know we hear that all the time, but that is not the answer to the question. I don't want to hear about every library that you've taught yourself partially and gone through the docs in order to make a project work that you were inserted into. I want to hear your fundamental understanding of how JavaScript works. It's not a hard language. It's been around for a long time. It is extremely well documented, extremely well covered in the open source community. So when someone asks you if you know JavaScript, I hope no one in this room would ever say, I know jQuery. I'm glad you know a library inside of JavaScript. That's great. But as I've worked with Fred's nephew, Matt, before, who I wish was here. If any of you guys know Matt Brophy around, great developer. And Matt and I sat down and used to have odd theoretical discussions when I got to actually code 3 or 40% of my week and talk about the misunderstandings of how JavaScript works as a language. The flaws that can be overcome by a foundational libraries to make it TypeScript, CoffeeScript, things that kind of fill in the gaps with the typing, around standardizing test frameworks, around using things like parcels, understanding the implications of the self, this, and that patterns, and actually getting to know when it's appropriate to use or not. This is not, just because the barrier to entry is so low doesn't mean you don't treat it the same as learning C# or Java or another enterprise class language. So at this point I'm at 15 minutes. If anyone has one question, if not, I'll be around here today. Everyone got to eat, so I don't think I've ruined anybody's lunch. If you're looking for any positions as a JavaScript developer, especially in the Philly area, talk to Rob and Aaron. They are on the staffing side of Judge. We have tons of opportunities for proper JavaScript developers at very, very competitive pay that we have for our clients. So feel free to drop into them if you have any look for opportunities. Thanks, everybody.